Hi there, I'm Jane Turner from writewithjane.com. And the video that follows on from this brief introduction is a cut and paste out of a longer video I made about how to write, publish, and promote an authority-producing book. So shoot me an email at jane@writewithjane.com if you'd like to see the full video. But for now, what we're going to be doing is focusing on how to get free publicity. Now, this video's got a little bit of a clunky start because it literally kicks off by telling you to hit the pause button. Now, that's just a legacy of the fact that the footage is part of the longer presentation, as I said. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be checking back in with you at the end. I want you to literally press the pause button and sign up to these two websites, sourcebottle.com and helpareporter.com. These are two free sites that you can sign up to. What you'll get in your inbox every day are call-outs from media outlets, because the fact of the matter is that the editors of magazines and newspapers and the producers of TV and radio shows have a black hole to fill, and they need great content to fill it with. So if you have stories that can help them in that way, then some incredible things might happen. And to prove that to you, I'm going to share what happened to me off the back of my first book, which was called Thrive in Midlife. So I answered a call out on SourceBottle that said that they were looking for someone to talk about their experience of menopause. And I answered that by saying that I've just written a book about my experience of menopause, and I'd love to help you if you think that I'm the right fit for your audience. And I attached a PDF version of the book and pressed send. Then a few days later, I got an email in my inbox saying, "Sorry about the short notice, Jane, but would you be available for a photo shoot and an interview next week?" And it was signed off by Claire Weaver, Senior Journalist, Australian Women's Weekly. Well, I tell you what, I certainly made myself available for that opportunity. And here I am with a full page coverage and an image of myself in the biggest selling magazine in Australia. So that was the first piece of fabulous publicity that I got. And the second piece was in Prevention magazine. And here I am again with a full page, including a massive image of me and my story. So both of these opportunities came through SourceBottle. But what I want to talk to you about now is how you can leverage the publicity that you get. So what I did was I aligned the cover of the issue I was in next to the page with my image on it. And I took a photo of that because the woman in the blue shirt is Deborah Hutton. And I sent the image and a pitch off to the people who managed Deborah Hutton, because at the time she had a massively subscribed online platform. So I sent the image off as an attachment to an email where I said that I was really proud to find myself in the same issue of Prevention as Deb was in, and I asked whether they thought she might be interested in interviewing me. Well, what they did was they sent me back a pro forma with a bunch of questions on it. So I filled that out, and next thing I know, they're emailing me to let me know that my story was live on the site. And here's what it looked like. So what you're seeing on the bottom left-hand corner is an image of me and the link through to my story, which also had a link through to my website, which also had a link to go and buy my book. And the person that you see in the other three boxes on this image is someone called Lisa Wilkinson. Now, at the time, Lisa Wilkinson was one of the anchors on the Today Show. So guess what I did? I took a screenshot of the image that you're looking at now, and I sent it off to the producer of the Today Show. Now, people often ask me, how did I know where to send this to? And I say, well, what I did is that I Googled Channel 9 and got their phone number. So I picked up the phone and rang the switchboard and asked the switchboard operator if they could tell me who the producer of the Today Show is and whether they could give me the contact details. And they could not have been more helpful. They said, Tom Nichols is the person you want. Here's his email address. Here's his landline. And here's his mobile. You're probably best to try the mobile because he's not at his desk very often. Now, I mean, seriously, could that have been any easier? Now, you might be thinking that I'm explaining things in a lot of detail to you here. Well, I am, frankly, because these opportunities are real. And I want you to leave this webinar knowing exactly how you can approach media outlets yourself. So I'm going to hone in even more on the strategy that I use and let you know that I always put an attachment to the email I send through. And why I do this is because these guys get hundreds of emails a day. And what I know as a person who gets a lot of emails myself is that the ones that are easiest to find when you have to trawl through your inbox are the ones with attachments on them. So I sent an email off to Tom, and it was a bit like the one I sent to Deborah Hutton's people, saying that I was proud to find myself being covered in Balance by Deborah Hutton at the same time as Lisa Wilkinson was, and I wondered if Lisa might like to interview me about my new book. So I wasn't really expecting to get a reply to that email, and the strategy I've devised doesn't rely on getting a response back from the first email, because what it relies on is making a phone call. So 3 days after I sent the email, I made the call and I went through to Tom's voicemail. Now, I didn't bother to leave a voicemail message because it's a lot better if we can get straight through to the person we want to connect with. So I rang again in the afternoon and I got through. And I said, "Hi, Tom, it's Jane Turner here. And I'm just calling to see if you've got any questions about the email I sent through to you a couple of days ago." And he said, "Oh, well, can you tell me what it's about, Jane?" So I told him basically what I said in the email. And he said, "Well, I'm just running off to a meeting now. Can I call you back later?" And of course I said, "Absolutely." But to be honest with you, there was a moment there where I thought I was getting the royal brush off. But you know what? I wasn't. He called me back and he said, "This looks really interesting. Can you send me a copy of the book?" Which I did. And then I heard nothing. So I let it go for about 3 weeks and then I picked up the phone again. So what I want to say to you at this point is that you've got to be prepared to do the follow-up, and you've got to be prepared to get out of your comfort zone. And boy, was I out of my comfort zone making these phone calls, but I made them anyway. So when I got through to Tom that second time, he thanked me for the book and he said, "Look, I haven't got anything at the moment, Jane, but I'll definitely keep you in mind." Now, I actually never did wind up getting on the Today Show, but I did wind up getting on Today Extra. And this is me on the screen with David Campbell and Georgie Gardner and one of their other guests. And I tell you what's amazing about the Today Extra program is that at the end of it, David Campbell says, "Now, if you want to know more about what Jane does, just follow her at writewithjane.com." And periodically through the interview, they run the web address across the bottom of the screen. So can you imagine what that kind of coverage does for someone who's written a book for the exact demographic that watches the Today Extra program? So it's just amazing to think about what's available when we're prepared to get out of our comfort zone. And when we're prepared and ready to be sending through a copy of our book or a chapter of it, or just saying that I'm the author of a book called whatever it is. And the last example I'm going to give you is another one of the wonderful opportunities that I've got through sourcebottle.com. And this is where I answered a call out about overcoming rejection. Now, this particular footage has been insanely helpful for me. I actually use it whenever I'm reaching out to potential new clients, if they're in a particular demographic that it's going to resonate with. And I'm not going to tell you any more about it now, because I just want you to watch the clip and imagine if that was you. Because the point I want to get through to you is that it could actually be you one day.
First, something we've all experienced, and every time it happens, we're reminded again how not fun it is to be rejected.
Some of the world's most successful people have been rejected. Elvis Presley was told to go away and learn to drive a truck. J.K. Rowling had 12 publishers reject her with Harry Potter. And Oprah Winfrey was told that she's too emotionally connected to her stories to be a journalist. All rejected. And aren't we glad that they were? One lady who had her life flipped on its head at the age of 52 is Jane Turner. Jane was retrenched from her job, where she thought she was safe for life.
I was in the public service my whole life, so I'm a person with a high value on security. Gone. What happens to you when it's gone? Immense fear. Immense fear, because I'd been in that place for 15 years. It was like family, it was like home, and the rejection buttons were being triggered all over the place.
And what happened was this. Jane is now a sought-after corporate speaker and business consultant, and as the author of 2 very popular books on how to overcome adversity, she has never been busier or happier.
The big one for me was that I wound up on a stage speaking at the Women's Economic Forum in India, a forum that has some 2,000 delegates going to it. And there's little old Jane Turner, who'd been a public servant their whole life up to the age of 52, who would still be a public servant now. But would I be as alive now? Absolutely not, Jo.
What an amazing story of how wonderful life can be on the other side.
So I'm going to jump back in here and say, yes, it is wonderful on the other side. And what I love most is being able to facilitate these kind of results for the people who've written or published their books with me and others who just want to raise their profile exponentially by getting free publicity. And they don't want to go it alone. They don't want to have to work out which media outlets to pitch which stories to and how to structure their pitch, or what they should say, if they should happen to get in touch with the producer of the Today Show, for example. So if you'd like a hand with that, reach out to me at jane@writewithjane.com.